What's up, everybody? My name is Galston Anthony, the best to ever do it. Now, before I continue with this podcast, like, comment, and subscribe. I keep telling you that 95% of the people that's watching here are just watching, but don't hit that comment, subscribe, or notification. And look, man, it works for me. It helps me with my algorithm. And look, I can get more subscribers and get that little silver plaque eventually. Now, getting straight into it. Today, I got somebody particularly interesting. A decade in her life. She's an author of a book, a TV presenter, and actor in shows like Skeem Saam and so much more. But I could tell you she's the type of girl that we can describe as gone through the most. And there's been a lot of controversy and questions that we're looking for answers for. Her name is Pebetsi Matlaila, and that's her government name. How you doing?
Did you have to use my government name, my VIN number? Pebetsi.
VIN number. You know, I've never actually heard that. So what's the VIN number, Pebetsi?
You know how they say that's like my registration name? That's the number that's the name that Home Affairs knows me with.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Nolo doesn't actually exist anywhere. That's just the name I picked up when I was living in the States. As a nickname.
Yeah.
And I rolled with it ever since.
Actually, we'll talk about you, in the United States, but I want to talk about how we know each other. I met you, I think last year, December 2024.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw you was in 1998 because we're in the same class together. Yep.
That's
What was it
crazy.
called? Petersburg Criminal School.
No, please don't say criminal. Petersburg Comprehensive School.
Well,
PCS.
PCS, right?
Okay.
I was there for 1 year,
Yeah.
and I met you there, and we have a common friend. Her name is Tirello.
Yeah.
And she reminded me of you and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why was it weird for you, like last year when we met? Like, it's just, but I don't remember you. I'm like, that's the first. I never have no one not remember me.
Look, it's crazy because you came through with an individual I was interviewing on my radio show.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
And while I was interviewing him, you actually way before I started the interview, but wait, I know you. And in my mind, I thought, he's one of those, he knows me from TV, from the role I play on screen, right? So it's like, yeah, you probably do. I'll let you know when the show's done. And I kept on going. But you're like, no, man, I know you.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
at that point, I was texting Tirello.
Were you?
Yeah, I was like, hey, and I took a picture of you. I was like, is this the Nolo you talking about? And she's like, yep, that's the one.
That's crazy. So, yeah. And when you reminded me, weren't you in PCS? I'm like, damn, he really knows me. And that's when I, paid a little bit of an attention. And I don't know if you have the same problem I have, but having lived in various places in my life, as well as different countries, it's hard to remember people.
Right.
You can attest to that?
Absolutely. Because I did 1 year in Polokwane. I did 2-3 years in this place, 2-3 years. So I moved a lot. So remembering takes some time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you remember days after.
But you've got a better memory than me.
Well, I got a terrible memory, so having a better memory than you feels good.
What are you trying to say? But anyway, so then after that, you reminded me of where we met. Of course, I also connected with our mutual friend.
Right.
And hey, man, when she reminded me who you were, I was like, no way. He's that weird guy who could not speak Vernac in school. And he was always speaking English with a twang, and we all did not understand why, specifically in the class where we had to do reading, Sepedi reading.
Yeah.
You could never stand up and stand in front of the classroom and read.
The craziest thing is I never knew Spedi existed.
What?
I didn't know. I just got to Polokwane and just got to school, right?
Yeah.
So I spent a couple months in a previous school because it was the year at the end. I found out about Spedi, and we didn't do Spedi in that school. And then the next year, right, we did Spedi. I was like, oh my God, I got to learn to read. They asked me words and spelling.
Yeah, you never did the reading. So you were that weird guy who couldn't figure out, like, what are you doing in a petty province, in a petty school, and you can't read it?
Let's get straight into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your life, your book, and so much more. But you're familiar with the podcast and its intensity of the questions, and that's why you're particularly here. So I'm going to ask all the questions that need to be asked. Some are sensitive, but the idea here is not to shame you, judge you, and so much more, but it's to understand. And the only way I can understand is to ask the questions that's needed. So let's start at least somewhere close to the beginning. So I met you in 98, and your book does give basically this whole thing is around your book because it's a memoir. You tell the story partially through your book. And I understand that you came from a divided family, but in that family you had a stepfather and a mother. Was your father in your life at that time, or was it just stepfather from that point?
Oh my gosh. You're not the first one to say that. It comes across as I had a stepfather, but no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
My father was my father from childhood. I was raised by the same man. It's just my association with him. Believe me, he's still the same father today and grandfather to my kids.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason it sounds like he's a stepfather is because I like to mention that I was raised by a mom who raised us like a single mom.
Gotcha.
Right? So I had a dad, my biological father, and the same biological father to my siblings as well. He lived in the same household, but I had no connection to him whatsoever. And that's because of his addiction problems. He was not present. He was present physically, but not present emotionally, psychologically. I don't remember ever getting advice from my dad.
Okay. If you say he was an addict and all, alcohol addict to be particular, was he functional in the sense at work? Did he have a job? Because I believe he was an educator, right? So how did he function in that education space, according to your understanding?
Shockingly enough, everybody that knows him always says your dad was a great teacher.
So when you say great teacher, you're referring down to his ability to teach,
and
teaching
the children pass as well.
Okay.
They remember him. I think also not just his ability, but maybe his motivational skills, because teaching doesn't come down to just you teaching a subject. It's also how you motivate the children to believe in themselves, Apparently my dad was one of those. The one common thing that everybody says whenever I would speak about my dad in social media spaces and I post him, they're like, that's your dad. I know your dad. He was my teacher. They always say he was the funniest guy.
Yeah.
And I believe what they say, because he's also the funniest guy at family events, He's just different at home.
So he's a great teacher, great man, but he didn't seem to be a good father. I understand that there was a lot of abuse happening at home. When he first was abusive, I understand him to be beating your mom. The first time he saw it, what happened?
I'm going to have to backtrack a bit to the first time I saw it. Believe it or not, the first time I saw it, I was around 5 years old, because that's the youngest or the freshest memory I remember. And we were still living in, your segregated areas, which was Lepwachomo at the time, where a lot of civil servants lived, like your policemen, your teachers, your nurses, right? So it was one of those segregated areas. And I was 5, and I just heard noises in the bedroom. And we had a nanny at the time, a living nanny. And I remember leaving the bedroom and the nanny saying to me, "Where are you going?" And I went to knock on the door because I could hear that that's an unfamiliar noise. And I was just knocking on the door for them to open. They never did. But eventually, I don't know if it was my mom or my dad who walked out of the bedroom, but I think it was my mom running to go sleep at her sister's house, because we lived in the same area. Yeah. And that's the first time I realized that, there's domestic abuse in the household. I was 5. But can I tell you, I didn't hate my dad then. As a matter of fact, immediately I put on a codependency attitude, wanting to now be an earpiece or a shoulder to cry on for my mom and my dad. I didn't take sides then.
I'm guessing that obviously you understand your dad is stronger than your mom, but you love your dad and your mom. You're still a kid. You have that auto love for each parent. And the whole daddy's girl situation at a young age is still there. So I can understand you didn't take, sides. When you say 5, that was 1990, right? Or 1989, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we were in the same class, so we turning.
I mean, don't talk about that. What?
Women don't like to say their age. Whatever my age is, that's hers. Right. And then, years come, and I'm guessing that from that age 5, probably the first time the gap was a bit bigger and the gaps came closer and closer with the abuse. What are the memories that you like, wow, this is shocking? what event happened where you're like, wow, this is actually abuse. My dad is hurting my mom.
Sure. That's crazy. I wrote about it in the book, and every time I read it to this day, kind of makes me a little emotional because I remember it like it was yesterday, you know. So for the longest of time, my parents have always been extending the house at home. And so there'll always be a room that has furniture from the other room in one room, right? And I remember at the time we had the living room couches in the dining room. But we were watching TV in the Kiri's bedroom. And that time we were already living in town in the suburbs. We had moved from the location.
So just to give context, I think the Buakumo is about 40 Ks
From
Polokwane.
Yes.
And then you moved to Flora Park.
Yeah.
Correct. Which is like at that time it was an upper
suburban
upper
area.
Class suburb, yeah.
Yeah, in Polokwane.
Right.
Yeah. And so my mom is big on property. She loves to renovate. I would think in her other life she would be one of those developers. So anyway, I remember we were watching TV that day, and my dad came home drunk as usual. And I don't know what kind of fight they had, but that one was so serious that my mom ended up on one of the couches, which was against the wall, and he punched her on the face. And
you watched this?
Yeah, I saw it from. I was watching it while walking to them to try to stop it.
Wow.
And blood was splattered on the wall.
Hmm.
And I think I remember it because of the gruesomeness. Do you understand? There's been other events, but this one was the most gruesome that I ended up intervening. So if I were to give an idea of how old I am, I think I was 7 turning 8, because I remember a week later, my dad bought me a bag for my 8th birthday as a sign of saying, I'm sorry. It was his way of saying, I'm sorry for what happened. So I intervened, and he ended up punching me by mistake. But I didn't bleed, so it was a punch on the head. And I guess the fight stopped. All I remember is seeing police come to the house, and my mom ended up in a hospital. And the next day, as the older sister amongst 2 siblings, I had to get my brothers ready for school.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is there. He did punch me the day before, but I had to act like everything is normal, because that's what I've been seeing my mom doing.
Yeah, because naturally as the oldest in the house, you become protected.
Yeah.
You protect the siblings, protect the house, you protect the reputation.
Yeah.
Also, you don't want the shame from outside. So it makes complete sense that you went into that auto space, and you're 8 years old, for what it's worth. Wow, okay. So your mom is in the hospital and you going to school, right? I just want to fast forward right until then, as you're going to now you're in high school. You live in Flora Park. Is that still happening? You went to Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
And how I remember you went to Capricorn, actually, is when we were in class, because we were in 7th grade, right? And only 14 people were selected from that school to go to Capricorn. It was Ivy League back in the day, right? And I remember your name getting called, And so you went to Capricorn, and the abuse still was there. Was that the case?
Yeah.
All right. The reports that I've been hearing from, peers of our age and people that I know that I still have communication with to today, they say there were a lot of times where your dad would be abusing alcohol so much to the point that he would be found lying on the floor randomly in the streets and whatnot. How did you feel getting that messages?
Sure. I should have expected that, because we did grow up in the same town and in a similar era. I learned to actually laugh over it. Laughter was my coping mechanism. The worst thing was when my crush came and told me, "Hey, yo, dude, we were with your dad. Go spotong sa ko kai kai, eh? Your dad is cool, man. He bought me what. You know what I mean? To him, he's letting me know that my dad is cool. But for me, I was so embarrassed. But I think it was easier to manage because family knew he's that way. Family events that we went to kind of knew him. They had an idea of the kind of person he is. Like, oh, watch him. He's excited now. But when the alcohol reaches a certain level, he's going to turn violent. And this whole party's going to turn into a funeral. You know what I mean? So I think as a child, you learn coping mechanisms, hey? Galston, you really do. And that's what I ended up doing.
Did you think it
I
like
laughed over
performed
it.
your performance at school? Or did you manage to like, separate that? Or could you have been a better student had your dad been a better father as the teacher he was to everybody else, to you?
My dad was an Afrikaans teacher. And today I'm a fluent Afrikaans speaker because he would never allow me to come home with bad marks. So I'll give him that.
Gaia.
He also taught other subjects along the way, but during that time he was mostly an Afrikaans teacher. So in terms of my academics, having both parents as teachers really worked to my advantage because I was an actually exceptional student in school. So exceptional that when I left high school, I could have gone to study medicine. Yeah, so it did not affect my schooling, but I think I learned to drown my sorrows in education as a child. School was my escape.
So let me try and break that down, because from what I see is that we did have a good father as far as an educator. We were having a great educator there, but the good father as far as the educator is concerned, but a terrible father in terms of being emotionally there for his kids and also being quite abusive physically to your mom and alcohol. So that's what I'm trying to separate between the two men to try and gather what your book says as a whole, right? Then moving forward to the last portion of this question. So your mom knew that every Friday night or Saturday night, Sunday night, he might just come back home, the violent version of himself. Why did she stay? And I'm not encouraging she should have divorced, but why did she sit there and keep taking it? Was it for the kids? Was it she had no other place to go, or what was the reason?
That's a question I'm still asking to this day. Just promise me that the interview will still go on after this, right? Okay, because it's a bit emotional for me.
Do you want to grab some tissue while we at it?
No, I'm gonna try and maintain the makeup that I have, if any. Individuals choose their lives, Galston. We cannot dictate somebody's life. My mom did the best that she could. I have asked her many times, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you leave? Because personally, I feel like growing up with a dad that is present physically, but was absent in other parts, and I had to experience abuse along the way, has affected me in more ways than I could have ever imagined. There's some psychological damages that I had to work on. It also has affected my relationship with men because a daughter's first love is her dad. And my dad did not really present a good, what we call a good picture of what a male should be. Yeah. And so the reason this is emotional to me, because the reason I end up ending my marriage is because I thought I became the individual I am today because of my upbringing and the kind of father I had, and my mom never left my dad. If I do that to my daughter, she's gonna be another me.
But before we get into that, because we will trace to that, we still at the high school / ending that period of your life. So here you are, you're 18. There's I don't know if you're familiar with Sigmund Freud.
I studied psychology.
You studied psychology, okay. So Sigmund says that a person is defined by their childhood experiences, especially those that go through, domestic violence and all, and unresolved conflicts. And this is basically what shapes who you are. And a part of your book shows that. But then there's the other theory of Alfred Adler, which says, although childhood experiences does matter and the traumas are there, but you cannot be imprisoned by your own past.
And that's why I love him better.
So we're going to take that and go through the book. So, boom, you graduate out of school, I believe. As soon as you turned 19, got a passport stamp, got a visa, went to the United States. Was this your opportunity to start a new life? Because you started as an au pair, right? Was this it? You're like, I'm escaping whatever is there.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. People think, oh, it's just an opportunity that came. No, I wanted to escape.
Uh-huh. So where did you go in the United States?
Hey, man, I was lucky enough to live with a family that was based in Manhattan, New York.
Manhattan. Ah, how cool is
Specifically
that?
Chelsea,
Right.
which is right next to Tribeca.
Right.
Yeah. And that's where it's closer to the Twin Towers.
Where the Twin Towers used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah.
So we were just in a little bit lower side of the east. And that is
Alright.
Chelsea.
Okay, so here you are, an au pair. They're paying good because if you're in Manhattan, the checks are beautiful. All right, and then sooner or later you get onto radio. How did that happen?
Crazy story. I'm living in Manhattan. Manhattan, people don't know that New York City is a province. New York is a province.
Is a state, which
Is
is a province,
state, yes.
right?
And then New York is a town, but more specifically, it's an island. Around it, you've got your Bronx, your Brooklyn over there, your Queens
Staten
over there,
Island,
your New Jersey over there,
right? The
your
Hudson
Hamptons
River,
over
here
there,
you have.
right? But then there's this island called Manhattan. Manhattan has Central Park. It has your Times Square. It has your Harlem's. It has your Chinatown.
Harlem is connected to
the Bronx.
to Manhattan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's right at the far end of Manhattan. On the other hand is in it's China City and small Italy. What I want to explain to people is the reason why everybody calls Manhattan the Big Apple is because every bite is a different place in the world. So
the most diversity in the world.
Yes, in the world. It's a melting pot
Everybody
of
you
all
meet
cultures.
is from different parts of the world.
So
half Italian, half Persian.
Yeah.
Half Japanese and half Rwandan.
You get all of that.
Huge mix, yeah.
And for me, it was a culture shock, but also exciting. So whenever I was homesick, I would always go hang out in Harlem because Harlem was concentrated with the most Africans.
Right.
Yes. So I went there, and I remember I was at a flea market Sunday, and some gentleman heard me talking and asking about black soap and shea butter and the uses of it, the benefits. And I heard a voice behind me saying, "Well, you've got a lovely voice." I'm like, "Oh, thank you," because in high school I was always teased about my voice.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not familiar with somebody saying you've got a nice voice. So thank you. He says, "Do you do radio?" I'm like, "No way." He's like, "No, I don't do radio." "Would you like to do radio?" And I thought he was kidding. And he said, "Well, I can train you if you like."
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, Galston, that's how I ended up joining a Harlem-based community radio station owned by the Salvation Army.
The Salvation Army.
Yes, yes. Catering to Africans living within New York.
Gotcha. Okay, so this was accidental. Here you are, you doing online radio and being an au pair, and you getting quite the check. I mean, let's put it in perspective. Living in Manhattan. Well, you didn't pay rent, did you?
None.
Okay, because paying rent in Manhattan, you're talking about $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to pay rent. I was I was living with the host family.
Right, so you're getting a check and you're doing radio and whatnot. A couple of years later, you move back into South Africa, and you move back here, and you're on screen. How did that happen? Was it like a transfer, a recommendation letter?
None whatsoever. I would say I found myself in yet another similar situation. I was at an audition, an open audition for that matter. And I was actually accompanying my cousin who had been in the industry for some time, the acting industry for some time. I came across the news about open auditions on Facebook, online. I was working at the radio station, and one day I just picked it up as, news that you research. And I said, "Cuz, let's go. You've been working in this industry. I want to take pictures with the characters." Because I knew a few of them, they come from Kulokwane. So I was like, I know this is my chance to show people that I do know these actors. When I got there, one of the individuals, I don't even know what he was doing there. Maybe he's the casting manager, I don't know. But I was in line with my cousin, and he said, "Come in as well. Come in." Like, I didn't want to say, "I'm not auditioning. I'm not auditioning." I came in, and well, we come in as 7 or 5 of us, so we watched the other people interview, and then they said, "Okay, guys, prepare a monologue, and come through and interview." That time, I have no idea what a monologue is. I don't know anything about the acting industry, and so I quickly Googled monologue, and I translated it to Sepedi because it's a Sepedi drama.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later they called me, and they actually offered me a role. Yeah, we've got a role for you. She's a journalist. You're already working on radio, right? I'm like, yes, I am. Are you a journalist? Yes, I am. I'm not.
You know, yeah.
I'm just okay, right?
You say yes, you'll figure it out.
Yes. And but I was honest with them that I don't know anything in the acting industry. And they actually helped me to get acting coaches, some lessons here and there, and also some lessons from veterans who've been in the industry as well.
Gotcha. So you get your first role. It's on which TV show?
Skeem Saam.
So it was Skeem Saam.
Yes.
Like you going big, right?
I mean,
all right. Which year was this, by the way?
This was 2015.
2015. Okay. So that's 2015. Let's just circle back a little bit because after around 2011, I believe you got fired at Capricorn FM.
I did not get fired.
You resigned. No, you left Capricorn FM, right? You left,
but,
right?
Oh, not on good terms.
Not yet. So that's where I want to go, right?
Yeah.
What happened? Do you want to talk about what happened that you
I can so gladly talk about it. I'm not even ashamed. I was told that for me to keep my contract, I would have to work with an open leg policy.
Okay, open leg policy. And you
didn't
open
your legs to keep the contract, my darling.
So you didn't open your legs because?
Because that's not how I operate in the first place. Because as far as I know, how you get your job is how you keep it. Okay? I don't sleep with a person I'm not in love with. Okay?
Gotcha.
And then secondly, I was pregnant at the time, but nobody knew.
So speaking of the pregnancy, when I say you didn't keep your open leg, wasn't expectation. I wanted to understand your moral stance.
Okay.
You're pregnant. You get married. I understand that the abuse started happening in that relationship. Was it something that did you choose the guy knowing that was there? Or was it something familiar that you ended up in that space? Tell me about the whole procedure, you falling in love with him and getting married, and boom, here you are.
Because no matter what, you mess with my mind. You're messing with my mind, because you take me to excitement, and I'm talking about the great things I did in New York and in the industry, and now you're taking me to, to be honest with you, he's just a guy who pursued me for a while, and I'm a sucker for persistence. Yeah. He was not persuasive, he was persistent. And I finally fell for him.
FYI, sorry, there are guys like that. They wait in the cut, right? That's a lot of you guys. You wait in the cut. It's like, I'm going to hit it one day, even if it takes 10 years. You guys, you type of guys, I don't trust y'all. Ladies, look for those guys.
I did not know at the time that there are guys like that.
That's like, I met her in primary school. I was trying to get it, like high school. I was trying to get, wait for her to get a job. 20 years later, he busy. He waiting in the cut.
I did not know.
He waiting, and he doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
I understand the ones that tell you. I'm like, I'm cool with those guys. But this guy is sitting in the cut, waiting for the opportunity because they know women slip.
Dude, that's crazy because both my baby daddies are men that chased me for a while.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me the story. Let's go.
So this guy was, pursued me for a while, and I did not understand how in the world are we compatible. I remember our first date he's a public figure, I'm a public figure at the time, working on a community radio station. And I said to him, listen, we can't go to a restaurant, we don't want to spark rumors, right? You're a public figure, I'm a public figure. And he's like, okay, come through to my house, I'll cook for you. And I was charmed. I was like, what? A man cooking for me? A petty man cooking for me.
Well, petty men don't cook.
They don't. For women, no, they don't.
No.
Now I get there, and the nigga cooked a cow tongue. I've never eaten a cow tongue in my life.
Oh, cow tongue.
Cow tongue.
I heard cow tongue. I was like, okay, this is probably some Japanese food. I make you cow tongue. Cow tongue. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So the shock of my life, I'm like, here I am thinking this man wants to cook for me. I expected some delicacy. It was a cow tongue. I've never eaten a cow tongue. I don't even eat tribes. You know the tribe.
I know tribe, the insides of a
I
cow,
don't
yeah?
eat that.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're giving me a cow tongue. And I thought, okay, I guess to him it's a delicacy. First time I tried it. But I was impressed by his bravery to cook that for me and think I'll have it. And, he's peculiar in a way. He's not romantic, but he has a way of making you feel important. Yeah. So before I knew it, we were dating. And, pity men don't ask you out. They don't ask you to be your girlfriend. Like, they don't say, can you be my girlfriend?
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that. So in Zulu, they say, abaksheli. Pity men don't hit on you. They just say, you are mine. When I walk away.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I need to go get me a petty girl.
Yeah, that's
It's like,
when I walk away. And that's how I felt. That's how I felt. And before you knew it, we had a thing going. I wouldn't say it was a relationship, it was a thing. It was a situation.
did you get busy the first night? That's the question.
No.
Okay, just checking.
Jeez.
I mean, just to pass it.
Definitely
Because I'm trying to figure out, was that the night you got pregnant, right?
No.
So,
Galston. I did get pregnant 3 months later.
3 months later,
Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough.
But, it's not that night. But my point is, he really did stay the course. But he was clear about what he wanted from me from day one. Because it was not long after we started dating that he said, I want you to have my baby. I was 26 at the time, and I thought, I could have a baby. I love children. But I didn't think about the marriage part of it. I just thought, once you have a baby, marriage is automatic.
Shame on the dude from Capricorn FM trying to get busy. I get he didn't know you were pregnant, but shame on the guy for you to keep your job. I mean, I'll give you that shout out for not doing it. But then you get married, right? And you with this guy, you give him a baby. The abuse, how did it start? Verbally? Or did it become physical? If so, how was the progression? Was it before or after the baby? Give me a short story.
Okay, let me quickly clarify that I never got married to him.
Oh, you never got married?
Yeah, and that's the usual misconception. People think we got married. And I guess
when you say you didn't get married to him, he didn't pay damages, he didn't pay
did.
Lobola.
He did.
So he just paid damages.
When he paid damages, because maybe we had pictures with me in traditional outfit or a shawl, people automatically thought it is Lobola.
You should have put there in your Facebook status, this is damage money.
Who does that though? Who does that? Nobody. I've
I
never
mean,
seen anybody say,
because you said
no.
you said to be clear, so that's why you could have made it clear from day one.
Then I didn't think it would matter, but I've noticed that since then, when people do a deep dive research on you, people thought I was married.
Got you.
Twice already, and I've only been married once in my life. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So you're a baby mama.
Yeah, I was a baby mama, and yes, they did come and pay damages. But I want to go back to your question. Why didn't I? What was your question again? Why didn't I?
How did the abuse start?
Oh, this. Okay, so like I said, he was somebody who knew exactly what he wanted with me. He wanted a baby from me, and he did not necessarily want me to be the girl that he goes to parties with, the girl that he flaunts and say, that's my girl, the girl who works on radio is my girl. No. He wanted the trophy wife or the trophy woman or the trophy baby mama to stay at home. So when I told him about what took place at the radio station, he was very quick to encourage me, no, leave it. I'll pay you what they used to pay you. I'm like, what? Leave the radio station, man. You're already pregnant anyway. You don't need that kind of stress. How much do they pay you? Okay, I'll give that to you every month. And of course, because it was a toxic environment, I left. And I then became a stay-at-home girlfriend during my pregnancy. I had everything I ever needed. I had the car, I had the credit cards. I was living in a beautiful house. Remember I said he's a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
So
and this is in Polokwane.
This is in Polokwane.
All right, does a public figure have a name?
I cannot mention.
Or you rather not say that?
Okay. He's still a public figure.
Okay.
If you want me to be specific, he's a politician.
Oh, he's a politician?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, it's up to you. I'm not going to try and dig into
that. Those who know.
Okay.
I don't need to mention his name.
I'm a Google after this.
Okay. Yeah. So he's a politician, still is, and so this is me now. I'm a house girlfriend, pregnant house girlfriend, And as time went on, I noticed that as a house girlfriend and you don't have a job, obviously household deeds become your job. You know, getting the house maintained, cleaning, doing the laundry. So when I would always do his laundry, I found receipts in his pockets of condoms. You know what I'm saying?
When you say receipts of his pockets, you talking about buying
real receipts.
All right, not actual used or unused condoms.
Not actual unused
Gotcha.
condoms, yeah. But the weird thing is I would find a receipt saying bought condoms. I won't mention the brand. Condoms and their size, which I know that's his size. Okay?
Do condoms have sizes?
Yes.
Okay, now I know.
So now I was like, okay. So when I started approaching him, I found something like this. He'll always deny that it's not him. Next time I'm like, yo, I found earrings in your car. Whose earrings? I don't know, don't worry, they're so and so's, we work together. He would always find a way to spin me around. He's a politician. He can spin, okay? But then all my suspicions came to an end. The day I found him in bed with another woman, I was heavily expectant. Nobody's ever heard the story, by the way.
Okay, hang on. I want to hear the story. You found him in bed, meaning you walked in on him. Yeah. Okay.
I was heavily expectant. I was in my last trimester and I was craving yogurt. So remember, he lives in the same suburb that my parents' house is in.
Mm-hmm. So he lives in
literally
Flora Park,
a street
right?
away.
Got you.
I could literally walk from my parents' house to his place.
So where were you? You were in a different house.
I was in my mother's house.
At your mother's house.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's your 7-8 month self.
Yeah, 7
going
to be
about
specific.
7, all right?
Yeah.
So you waddling your way to the house because
Yeah.
you're really big at that time.
And I've got like 3 a.m. cravings.
Oh, so you went 3 a.m. Damn.
I'm at the 3 a.m. I was a 3 a.m. craving
Uh-huh.
girl, and I specifically wanted yogurt. Now I knew he used to love buying yogurt from that Black W grocery store, and I love those ones, you know, full cream and all. And because we didn't have it in my mother's house, and it's just a street away, it's 3 a.m. I got in the car, that of the car and left. Now he's a politician, so at the time they were part of the ANC Youth League. Before the EFF, and I drove in. And
Already we got a clue. You're the one that brought the clues.
No, the reason I'm saying that is because I want to explain that there was always a security guard at the gate.
Got ya.
So I drive in, and the security's like, Madam, what are you doing here? I'm like, to get yogurt? Why, madam? I live here most of the time. Why are you so shocked? But now his car is in the driveway, and I thought he's out of town. I'm like, okay, maybe he lived with his other friends. They're using his friend's car. But then when I try to put the key in the main door, there's a key at the back. I'm like, But this guy's yappery. He's trying to distract me. The security guard. I'm like, oh, this is fishy. What is he going? Yeah, madam, no. He left it. Naboban. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I have the keys, smart girl as I am, to the kitchen door, which is on the other side. So I went to the car, cable hold, took the keys to went in. As soon as I opened the kitchen door, I could hear these movements in the house. And obviously I paced myself only to get to the bedroom and find him with another woman in the bed. But I was told, I'm going to mention this so women can know what gaslighting sounds like. Mm-hmm. No, it's not what you think. They're trying to do a smear campaign on me. They sent her here so she can tell people that I raped her. And I was not but they're in bed together willingly, so with the wine.
Wait. Let me just run this back, all right? They sent her here for a smear campaign.
Yes.
And it happened that both of y'all were naked with a condom on, assuming that
I didn't see that part, but they were naked and there were wine glasses on different sides of the of the bed.
Okay, you know what? It's a weird smear. I'll try this one next time.
No, I think maybe he was thinking on his toes, right?
Yeah, he was. He definitely was.
And I was supposed to buy it because I have been buying the excuses all along.
Right. No, he took you for a fool. The whole time he did take you for a fool. He was saying all the things that you need to say. You're pregnant. You're having the comfort of having a home and provided for. So you're like, you know what? He's bought my forgiveness already. So that's what you were running with the whole time. And the thing is, you have a baby. You want to see the man in the best possible light possible.
I want my baby to have a father.
Right. So I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, boom. The smear campaign that is happening, boom, and there you are. You probably yelling and screaming at each other, are you not?
Oh, of course.
And what is the girl doing? She's like putting on the clothing?
No, the weird part is I would be yelling and screaming, but I think the pregnancy helped me calm down. So I remember I wasn't screaming. I just looked at him, explained. And then he tried to remove me out of the room. I did not. But the mistake he made was that he left her. And I stayed in the room and I locked the door. And I told the girl, today you won't tell me the truth.
Wait. See, the guy left the room, nuts
I don't know
hanging.
what he was going to get.
So was he nuts hanging out, or did he
Of
like
course
tile
he
out?
tiled up.
Okay, just checking, right? So you and the girl, here you are.
Yeah.
And girl is covering herself,
Yeah, girl is trying
dressing
to
up,
get
right?
dressed up.
And you like, you gonna tell me
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah,
Or both of us gonna mess you up.
You know, it's funny. I laugh about it now, and I also speak about it openly now because
No, hold on. Tell
there are
me
people
what
who
happened.
actually know him.
It's okay. People know him. Look,
Yeah.
I
No,
can
I'm
only
gonna tell you
Google
the story.
after.
Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna tell you how it is. But the reason I'm confidently talking about this is that I know for a fact that even if he tries to say defamation of character or anything, there are people that know him, that he is still doing that to this. Okay, maybe not to this day, but he's done that to his other baby mamas or his other girlfriends. So, unfortunately, serial cheating is something that.
But I'll leave that part to him.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's his story.
Yeah.
And I'm not particularly interested in his story per se at this stage. What I'm particularly interested is your perspective and how you went in.
Yeah.
Because after you tell me what you and Girlie did in the room there, I want to know that story. Then thereafter, I want to know, when did the abuse start?
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing at that stage he didn't touch you.
Actually, before I fell pregnant, he had slapped me, which was the first time a man slapped me. And it was one of those moments where I wasn't like, ah! I was more taken aback, like, what just happened? Did you slap me? Because I never expected to ever be slapped. Because I was the girl.
So you got slapped? You
Way
were
before I
taken
fell
back,
pregnant.
and
And he
then
apologized and everything. So I was like,
and you moved on from that.
and we continued dating, yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask. Was that like normal to you? Because in my head, right, as a guy, if ever a man strikes a woman, this is me saying third party, there's no excuse for that. Unless, of course, the woman aggravated the situation physically, right, as a counter, right? That is the only possible exception. Now, don't go out there ready to cancel me and whatever the case may be. But there's no other reason.
There's no other reason.
There's no other reason to strike a woman at all.
Yeah.
Right? So now I'm trying to figure out. So he striked you, he gave you a slap, and I don't know, there was a wake-up call, and you were like, you know what? I'll forgive you. It's okay.
I actually didn't forgive him. I didn't have much of a choice. So what had happened was, I was still working at the radio station at the time. Remember, I started dating while I was still working at the radio station.
And we already said Capricorn, so it's okay.
Yeah, Capricorn FM.
Yeah.
And, as a radio presenter, you meet a lot of people that hear your voice, and when they meet you publicly, they are ecstatic. Like, wow, this is you. I've heard your voice. And so we go to a lot of events as well as a radio station. And I remember at one fashion show, I met some guy who wanted to be interviewed on our show. Yeah. And we exchanged numbers. Or did we exchange Facebook accounts? I don't remember. But I remember he sent me a message in my Facebook telling me that he's always had a crush on me. So now this guy, because I never had a pin on my phone, I still don't to this day, he went through my phone while I was asleep, only to be woken up in the middle of the night. Hey, who's this? Who's this guy saying he's got a crush on you and he can't wait to see you again? Where was this? I'm like, oh, that guy. I met him so and so. Oh, he's the guy. I didn't know he likes me. I just gave him my context thinking he wants to be interviewed and stuff. So because of the nonchalant way I responded, it aggravated him and I got a slap. And that shook me out of my sleepiness right away. I'm like, what just happened? You must remember, Galston, I grew up in an abusive family, and I told myself I would never allow a man to do that to me.
This is what I want to connect later. So let's just cover real quick. What happened with you and this girl in the room?
Oh, no. The girl and I had a quick conversation, like, not even quick, because I had locked the door. So he kept on knocking, open for me. I'm like, yo, you got away. I told the girl I've had suspicions. that this guy's been cheating. Is it you? What's going on? And the girl just told me straight up, no. While she's getting dressed, no, let me be honest with you. He really loves you. It's just that with your pregnancy, you've been stressing him. And so him and I have just been, taking the tension out. I've been helping him take the tension out because you've been stressing him.
Another gaslight.
I know.
So I was doing this for you, baby girl.
No, but I don't think she was
girl,
she wasn't gaslighting me. She was telling me the truth.
What I'm trying to figure out is how brutal this abuse went from that point forward. Was it bad? Was it light? I know you got smacked before, which is bad enough, but did it get any worse than that?
No. He never really, to be honest with you, he never really abused me he never actually laid a hand on me more after that, but he did psychologically abuse me and financially abuse me because I depended on him.
Right.
Financially. So if I was rebellious and I was not a good girl, I would not get the allowance I used to get monthly. And in terms of psychologically, whenever I confronted him, he would always gaslight me. Back then, I didn't even know it was gaslighting. I used to say he's just...
Yeah, it wasn't a buzzword at the time.
It wasn't a buzzword at all.
But then I want to use the word, that rebellious word. I want to move a little later to it. So here you are, you're on TV, you're hiding all the factors that is happening to you.
I had already broken up with him by the time I got onto TV.
You got onto TV because you got into TV 3-4 years later.
Yeah.
Right. So here you are on TV and you have your kid, you're raising it as a single mom. I'm guessing he's financially supporting.
Yeah, eventually we made up. We're friends now.
You're friends now. Yeah. Okay, cool. Then boom, you meet your soon then to be second husband.
First husband, Galston.
First husband, my bad. Damages, and then,
Yeah.
So here you are, you meet this person that becomes now your first husband.
Yeah.
Given that, how did that happen? Did he show signs of abuse? The reason why I ask this question is that obviously you came from a background of abuse. Sometimes we allow it because of the past, like you forgave the slap and continued probably a year afterwards of the relationship. Did you see the signs and say, hey, boom, I'm going to get married to him anyway? Or did this happen post-baby or post-marriage?
Because then when you grow up in a family of abuse or all your life, you are guaranteed to see it as a no. And hence why I found myself ending up with the same type of guy, just in a different shape, form, height, or color. So I found myself in the similar relationships, even when it was not serious to the point where we're having a baby. So in terms of the man that I married, the father of my second child, he was already abusive way before we married. But he was verbally abusive. The slurs that he will throw at me.
What are these slurs?
Calling you his just because you don't want to do certain sexual acts.
But isn't that the opposite? Because
that's projection from his side, but then I didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. And then what are the slurs he call you?
Yeah, babes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as hardcore as it goes.
Not to say it's not enough. I was just asking, if there's more.
Yeah. And I don't even know if that's going to be muted on your podcast because it is a curse word.
It's a curse word, okay.
But, yeah, he used to call me all of that. And I noticed that he had verbal abuse tendencies, most especially when he was intoxicated.
So it seems like a pattern. You kept choosing guys that drank a lot. They were somewhat, to a degree, aggressive. Because if you're using those kind of words, there's a sense of aggression that you need. And at this point, you don't know this guy's physically abusive.
No. Right. But I want to clarify that the father of my first child did not drink a lot.
He didn't drink a lot?
No,
okay.
He did not. He did not. The second guy, the father of my second child, honestly speaking, we met because we had the same addiction.
And I wanted to ask, when did you pick up your drinking habit?
I picked up my drinking addiction before COVID started. And when COVID started, it became difficult because they banned alcohol. So I was that girl buying from this name and who sells the bottle, which was 400 in the shop, selling it for 1,002, and it's take it or leave it, and I bought it.
Yeah,
I bought it.
Okay, so you caught into your addiction a lot later, and just so we are doing,
but then please.
So this is not alcohol. So although we have Sorellas on the table, like we always do in every episode, that is alcohol, but it's sealed. But we're having actual juices. The juice is right here. Actually, boom, just so we can show you. You got it. Yeah. Yeah, so we can't advertise the company, but it's actual juice, right? Actually, you know what? You need to top up.
Yes. So him and I actually were two people who were both miserable at the time. It was during lockdown, and he had just broken up with his partner. I broke up with my 4-year partner, the only man I can attest that I ever loved ever since I was born. And that's not the father of my first child. It's just another
A
guy.
different guy, yeah.
Yeah, I dated him for 4 years, and he had broken me to the core. And I ran into the arms of this man that
This
has
guy,
been
yeah.
chasing me for 4 years. He's been persistent, chasing me for 4 years. I ran into his arms. He was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. So when we drowned our sorrows together, we ended up obviously getting intimate, and a baby came along.
We guys don't stand a chance. Good guys, we don't stand a chance. Because here's a woman here, and it's wild for me because I want you to also respond to it. Here's a woman that a good guy would never hit a girl, would never, be so nasty enough to be, psychologically abusive. We don't stand a chance with these women.
You do.
No, much
You
later.
guys are not persistent enough.
So you want a persistent
I
creep that sits
need-
in the cut and waits for you to slip, and then boom, he slips in.
But at least every day you show me that you're still interested. The good guy sits in a corner and waits for the day that I realize he's a
The
good
good
guy.
guys pick up the bad leftovers.
That's so sad.
That is sad, and it's not derogatory in any way to say that
But
to you.
it's not nice at all.
Yeah.
I wish we could realize
Yeah.
he's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man.
Start in the beginning. Like, you look at the good man in the beginning. Anyway,
Yeah,
moving on. So you picked up your addiction and you started drinking a lot, and
with
this is
him.
COVID with him.
And he knew I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
He knew I was dating for 4 years. They knew each other. They worked in the same field. Yeah, so, and he knew every time he made advances in the past 4 years, I'd always say, no, I'm still dating so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said,
See, that wasn't a good guy in the beginning.
what do you mean?
How does a guy make an advance on his friend that he
It
was
was
a
not
colleague?
a friend, and it
A
was
colleague.
not breaking a bro code.
So-
It was a colleague.
So he was carrying a brick around him, like the whole time. The whole time it was carrying a brick.
Please don't do that.
All right, and you
The
let
bad
him
guy is
let
the
him
one who
find
hurt
him.
me. No, the bad guy is the one who hurt me.
And then
And
you're
I
like, you know what?
left him. Then I went to him.
So it was his turn now.
It was his turn. I needed validation, okay? I needed self-worth. I needed to feel important.
Okay.
Because somebody just packed up and left and took the extension cord and even his earbuds without a trace. He ghosted me.
Okay. Then he Houdini'd. He just
You understand?
disappeared.
And
Okay.
it left me with so many insecurities and questions. After 4 years of all I've given you, what can't I do right? Why do you keep leaving me? And I ran to this man.
Okay, so you didn't only mirror the kind of guy that your dad was with the whole alcohol, the abusiveness and all. He became your dad as well by picking up the bottle.
Yeah,
Right.
that's one of the pivotal points in my book. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that. And I admitted with so much shame, but I had to admit it that for the longest of time I hated my dad. But now I understand my dad. Why he never saw himself as an addict, why he never saw himself what he's doing as a problem, as somebody who needed help, because to him it was a coping mechanism for whatever he went through. And I became him.
So you become him in this relationship with this guy, and here you and him, you're in COVID, so naturally a baby pops out of the whole situation. I think most babies were born in 2020, 2021, because all people could do was,
Don't say it, we know.
get intimate, because, YouTube would, mute that.
Yeah.
Get intimate. So here you are, and you're in a relationship with him. So you figured, okay, now that you have kids together, we're getting married. But you're already seeing these not so good tendencies, and you decided to ignore it. Tell me why.
Number one, he used to tell me, you're going to be my wife one day. Now he's another type of man. Remember, my first baby daddy is Betty,
Yeah.
and he doesn't hit on you. He says, you're going to be my woman, or
Okay.
you are my woman. Zulu men, on the other hand, say,
You're gonna be your wife, yeah.
And I became his woman. As soon as he found out I was pregnant, it's like, let's get married.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we don't have to. It's like, no, let's get married.
Yeah, Zulu men are serious in that regard.
Yeah. And was having a second baby out of wedlock, Galston, with a different man.
Mm-hmm.
That does not look good on any female, does it?
So you just wanted to correct that.
I guess also I wanted to clean up my image.
Okay, can't be mad at that.
Yeah.
Can't be mad at that at
Yeah.
all. Okay,
So I
but now
agreed to getting married to him, although I knew the red flags before, because he was remorseful of it. Whenever I confronted him about it, he'd always say, "I'm so sorry. I don't want to do this to you. I can't believe I did this to you." And he always blame alcohol amnesia, episodes that he threw out. And then I'll find him help, psychological help. I got him a counselor at church, got him a psychologist. Although therapy was out of the question, he was just never up for that because he didn't think it was that serious. And then we got married, but he never got better.
It never got better, it got worse. So now I'm looking at the differences between the two guys. Now the obvious one, the first one rather, is a politician. So you took it politician style. He makes a mess. He throws it back on you. He finds somebody else to blame if it's not you. It's like, you know what? The reason why I did it is because this is what they setting me up and blah, 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 blah. It's your own fault. The second guy used the, you know what? I'm sorry. Alcohol is a bad thing. And it was not me. It was the alcohol. Boom. You accepted both. How gruesome did the physical abuse become?
Oh, yeah, with him it got really gruesome. It got really gruesome. The day he sharpened knives and threatened to stab us, I didn't know what the word meant until
Hang on. He sharpened a knife.
Yes.
Threatened to stab you.
Yeah, us, me and my oldest daughter.
That is some psychopathic.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me some more.
It just popped out of the blue. He's drinking. We play a song at the end of the song. The switch goes in his brain and sharpening knife on the floor, on the pavement. I'm like, what are you doing? And in Zulu he says, "Namhlanje ngizokhipha amathumbu." I didn't know what that meant until I asked a friend, and he said he's saying, "Today I'm going to take out somebody's intestines." And I was just scared on that day, but we had this thing that my daughter and I would do whenever he started getting violent. We'd run to the bedroom and lock ourselves in the main bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, he also once threw me down the stairs while I was 7 months pregnant. So it did get pretty hectic with him.
No, that is not pretty hectic. That is extremities, right? Sharpening knives, throwing you down a flight of stairs, and a whole lot of more events that you're probably not sharing, for the sake of time here. Now the question becomes, I understand a battered woman syndrome, but why didn't you pick up and leave?
I was married, Galston.
Yeah, sure. And the thing is, I'm not trying to encourage marriages being broken up. Now, I get you're also mirroring your mom in this instant because here your mom is going through the most. She's getting beaten up. You've mentioned how you were 5 and you saw blood spilling all over the walls. And now here you are, you're like, you know what? I'm going to mirror my mom in this regard. I will say the good thing out of that is trying to keep the family together. However, at what expense?
At the child's expense.
Yes, at the child's expense. Because now you got a daughter. Ultimately, she's going to go through the same relationships all over, and you have to watch your daughter helplessly. And the natural version of you will be like, you know what? He loves you, does he? Does he not provide for you? Take the beating. Now, we don't want to get to that place there, and it's also far and beyond. You're sustaining all these beatings, sustaining all these beatings, sustaining all these beatings. Now, your career is taking a knock. I'm not sure what's happening because now you're having financial issues, you're not keeping the jobs long enough, you're drinking too much. Your life is basically a mess. Now your whole community is talking about, you know what, that girl is supposed to be up here, but her bad habits keep her down here. What is going on in your life? Could you explain to me this 2022, 2023? What is going on? Why are you not getting paid right? Or are you getting paid right? Or are you using all your money in alcohol? What's happening?
So as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I had to stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the reality hit me that I'm in an abusive relationship. Worse, I'm married to my dad. And that's when reality hit because we started drinking together. Right? And then all of a sudden, I'm not drinking now. He's drinking on his own. And so that's when it hit me that I married my father. But the abuse started hurting my daughter psychologically. And that's when I had to take a stand and actually say, Nolo, you can't keep doing this. You're damaging her. And that's how I got the bravery to end the marriage in 9 months.
And then straight after the marriage, is that when you started writing your book?
Yeah, but you must remember, me losing my job was not due to drinking or something. I was pregnant. In the TV industry, when you're pregnant, you don't have a job.
Oh, yeah, you don't have a job. You
Yeah.
can't be pregnant. You don't have a continuation on the role. Okay.
Yes.
So it's not mismanagement of funds.
No. Oh, no. Also, in the entertainment industry, you don't have a maternity leave. You don't get a paid maternity leave.
True.
Once you're off, you don't get paid. So he was the financial muscle. And that's another thing that made it difficult for me to let him go, because he was the financial muscle.
Granted, I understand how the industry works, they're unkind, you're not needed, boom, it's over, and you just got to move on without it. So women, I understand now more so when you explain why they don't want to depend on men, because you have these men was like, you'll depend on me, I'll give you everything you want, but if I decide not to, I'm leaving, and then they leave the women in destitute. So I'm going to take it in good faith that was your situation of financial struggles since then. So this is 2023. Your child is about what, 2 years old, and you start writing this book. This A Decade in My Life, right? You started writing that book, and it got published in November. And now you are living in a, what do they call it, a caregiving home?
I was told not to call it a shelter. It's a women and children's safety home.
Women and children's safety home. How bad did it get that you decided to go there? And the reason why I ask that is because a lot of the times it says that, no, she's looking for attention and clout. That's why she's there. How true is that? Be open, be honest.
Thank you for that opportunity. People don't understand that living in a shelter of that nature is not comfortable. Luckily, we did not find one. I actually thought we were going to go to a shelter where we're living in a hall or a church auditorium with bunk beds right next to each other, and we're sleeping all on top of each other. And that was not the case. I was surprised to find that we're actually living in a home with a living room, TV room, kitchen. Everybody's got their bedroom, and I was lucky enough to find, and I say lucky because of the suburb I lived in. I specifically looked for a home within the area that my oldest daughter goes to school, because I never wanted to destabilize her. She's in the last year of a primary school. So why did I go to a home? How bad was it? If I were to put it lightly, I had a fallout with my family members, my parents and my siblings. And I'm obviously not getting any financial help from my baby daddies, both of them. The baby daddy to the oldest child takes care of the child.
Pause. I want to understand is that you say you had a fallout with your family. Did you live with your family, then have a fallout, and then you moved out of the house, or what was the fallout?
When I lost my place.
And when you lost your place, here in Gauteng or in Polokwane?
In Gauteng.
Okay.
So I've been living in Gauteng for the longest of time.
Gotcha.
When I lost my place in early January, when I came back from my radio show, and I found my furniture all out on the pavements within the complex that we're living in. I was immediately instructed to take my stuff to storage. It was a Saturday afternoon. Storage is closed. So the landlord actually said that I'll offer you the garage to put your things in there, furniture, but then clothes and stuff, kitchen things and bathroom things, find a place to take them.
So it's the landlord who took your stuff out?
Yeah. I came back and I found them out. She's got the extra keys. Yeah.
So the fallout with your family, how's that connected to your landlord being throwing you out?
So after being thrown out, I then have to find a place to live with my kids for a while. And of course, I needed financial help from my parents. But because I've been getting financial help from my mom ever since my ex-husband left, because I was not getting enough from the jobs I was doing, the odd jobs I was doing. When I finally needed her help to get another place, I was called an abuser, and how I am milking my mom dry, and I'm taking advantage of her, and I'm a burden. My children and I are a burden, and we should find another way to survive. I don't know which other way they expected it to be. And that's when I realized I'm on my own.
Because I was going to ask, why don't you just go back to Polokwane and live there? Yeah. So that answers that question. And so the only way out was for you to go to a shelter. What do you call it? A home for?
Women and Children's Safety Home.
Jeez, man, why do I have to make it such a long women and children's safety home?
It's a safety home. We're safe.
All right, please, government, make a Department of Men and Safety home for us so that I can go and move in as well. Don't look at me like that.
I'm not gonna add on to that one because I could say a lot. But yeah, that's how I ended up there. And for the longest time, I've been trying to find a way I can word it because people are like, especially people that know me from Polokwane, like you, like, did your parents live in the suburb? You guys live in a double-story house. Go back home with your kids. I can't.
Okay. Now, baby daddies, each of them are not sending any money at this stage. I guess that's
But the
sticky.
oldest one does take the baby daddy to the oldest child takes the oldest child to school.
Okay.
And it's a very good school.
Okay.
So I'll give him that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, there's at least some sort of support, but not a support for you at this
I'm
stage.
not his
So
responsibility. That's why.
fair enough. So you in the trenches right now. You're in the trenches. So just to make it clear, you're not looking for undue attention to yourself.
I made it clear I'm looking for work. Because the reason I'm here is because the odd jobs I've been doing in the industry were not paying enough. I was literally drowning. I was living hand to mouth. And literally every month I had to go ask my mom to add on so I can be able to pay rent and maintain a life for the next month. People would say, then go live in Tembisa or Soweto or Alex. Why are you stressing to live specifically in the suburb? And I guess that's my disposition. I grew up in a suburb. I don't know how I'm going to survive.
Well, I've got an answer to you for that, to your defense, right? If you're not from that township, it's best you don't go live in that township. It's usually best to go live in a township that you're from. Unfortunately, if you had to choose a township, going to Lebohome is not going to work for you because you need to work in Gauteng. So that's generally how I would explain it, because then you become a mark in that township and a lot of things can happen to you that might not go your way. So even the suburban life versus township life, that is not even like a full argument for me. I get it.
But most importantly, destabilizing the child.
Correct.
I've already gone through enough with her. I cannot leave her only sense of belonging, which is school.
Correct. Now, although we've ran through this book, A Decade in My Life, I'm taking this time to understand what is happening here. We spoke about Sigmund Freud, saying that your childhood experiences makes who you are. And it seems that's the life that you lived. Then you told me that you follow more Alfred Adler by saying you can take yourself out of the prisons. Please run that whole thing with me in like a 2-minute answer of what the book is about and how you're making that application for your own life.
So A Decade in My Life is literally a book with 10 chapters, right? Because a decade is 10 chapters. And I call it a book that is a story of redemption. And it's exactly that. How my childhood shaped most of my life and I wasn't aware, influencing my decision making in my life. And then it's the moment I realized that, oh my goodness, this is what's happening with me. Then I switched things up and started rewriting my story.
Just so we run through it, there's a lot of things that you spoke about that not a race, not an age, not a gender is a victim to abuse. It can be all through, because you gave examples of my ex-neighbor, actually, Oscar Pistorius. He was a literal neighbor of mine, right? He lived literally behind me. You gave that example as well. And Riva was 29 when she was a dearly departed thereafter in the hands of an abuse, so to put it, and so many more. You shared that experience to everybody. Why? Is it because you didn't want anybody to think you're a Black woman and you're of this age and of this disposition or predisposition and you will be abused? Or were we trying to share to anybody that anybody can become a victim?
Yeah. If there's one thing I highlight in the book is how psychosocial issues can actually affect you without you knowing. When I heard of the story, it touched me in the sense that I realized that domestic abuse is not only in Black families. You also find it within the white race. And I promise you, Galston, it was a shock. It really was, because I was living in this family and I kept it a secret for a while and how I grew up. So when I heard that story, it was a life-changing moment. So I do mention a lot of other psychosocial issues that have affected all of us in one way or another, whether you want to believe it or not.
Now, let's come down to you. What accountabilities do you take for your life and how are you showing and demonstrating them now?
I take accountability for the fact that my choices in men was not so great, and I cannot necessarily blame it on the father I had, but also not touching base with the fact that my choice of men was influenced by my view of men, right? And I always say that if you cannot diagnose the problem in your life or pinpoint the root problem, you can never start working on a solution. You can never start figuring out what do I need to do to change. And I also learned that the other accountability I took was that I'm a codependent. I always want to be a hero to people, whether it's a partner or, another gender partner or even a friend. I always like to bend over backwards, stretch myself a little bit further to be the hero, and they never asked me to be. And when they don't return the favor in the same magnitude, I end up being remorseful and I feel betrayed. And I develop resentment, but I worked on that through therapy because I identified that.
I'm going to ask you even a deeper question, because what happens here is that although you're identifying a quirk within you choosing others, making a choice of others incorrectly, whether it's friend or opposite sex partnership, what are your personal accountability mistakes that you make that also led you here and you are rectifying?
As much as I've never admitted it, but I'd say poor financial management. I did not make the right choices when I was making the right money. But that's because I never had the education and then I never looked for it. I personally think I wouldn't be here had I had better financial management.
What about alcohol?
Oh, yeah. No, that's a deep one. Oh, absolute thing.
Yeah.
And it also attested to the choice of the last man I was with 4 years ago. My youngest daughter is born now. And the last man I was with was her father. And the choices I made up to him and before him, I believe they were slightly influenced by alcohol, because I don't remember dating a man who doesn't drink. I did date a Rasta, but their toxicity is...
This is a different one.
Yeah.
I'm going to conclude it by saying that when I listen to you, it's still down to the other person. Yes, you do identify that you making that decision that you have to look at within yourself, but it seems to be the next person is always involved. I would suggest go look into yourself a little bit deeper. And I hate it when people say that. Go look into yourself a little deeper.
I'm a psychology graduate. I
right.
actually understand what you mean. Go with it.
So look into yourself a little deeper. See how you can dig out those problems. I mean, the alcoholic side of things. I offered you alcohol. You said, nope, let's go with juice for now. I was impressed by that. Look into your financial decisions and your career as well, because people do find you talented, right? And that's a good thing. People do find you talented and they want to see you working and keep going on radio. Well, you're currently on radio, but they want to see you on mainstream TV again and so much more. So with that being said, I'd like to encourage you to keep moving forward, because this book gives us a gist that you understand what's happening to your life. It gives us a gist that you are correcting some of the things that you are saying. It tells us that you have some sort of introspection and some sort of self-awareness. So I'd like to wish you the best in the sense that TV, please give her a call. Give her a call. Give her that job. She's not pregnant.
I'm not about to be anytime
She's not
soon,
pregnant,
ever.
right? So she is ready to take in a job. So be sure to hire this woman. Is there anything you wanted to say before we close?
I definitely do. You just reminded me, after my story went viral, I had a lot of people coming to me, some calling me privately and some commenting in my statuses. Stop telling people your private business. Why should you tell people your business? Can I tell you, Galston, ever since I spoke out and I specifically said, this is my situation. When you see me, please don't be shocked. If you hear about it, don't be shocked. But I'm not looking for donations. I'm looking for work. Can I tell you how many people came to me and said, Nolo, you are talented. You just need direction. You just need to angle yourself.
You need the support.
Yeah. And I have received so much help, so much so that a lot of big projects are in the works right now. I can't talk about them yet.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah.
Big projects in the works.
Yeah. So big that I never even, growing up, I used to think I was going to be the next Oprah and have my own talk show. But it's something we used to joke about. But I'd say something similar is in the works. And that's because, and things also is how to manage my social media, how to curate my content as well. I have a company that sat down with me and said, we could help you with how to do that. And that's because I spoke out that I need help. I need help.
I didn't
and I found the help.
congratulate you for that courage, because there is courage for you to speak out. But given that we've got a shortage of time, I'd like to make sure that I close it on a high note, wishing and hoping for the best for you through and through. And that big project, I was in the back.
I know.
I was in the back. Well, once again, we went through ups, downs, roller coasters, as we called it. She explained to us where she came from, why she's going through her experiences. And although she mentions that in the book, for those that have not read her book, some of them is spoken here. But please, sometimes writing is better than listening. Please make sure that you get her book. But through and through, this podcast is trying to unravel the truth, understanding of the individual's perspective. And I hope that I met that. Please be nice in the comments. Please stop saying this nasty stuff. I'm trying to re-socialize my people to stop being nasty. All right? Because I'm a master at texting you back, and I will try to rip you apart in turn, because I'm not afraid of that. However, I'm trying to create a culture that we're nice to each other and we start building together. So until the next episode of G to G, it is peace out from me.